Today we're continuing our E100 series. It's going through the Bible in 100 days, and today we're going on 1 Kings 8, 1 and 2, 6 through 21, and this is a continuing saga going through the Old Testament, pointing to the New. So we only have 17 more weeks to go. How's that sound? Okay. So this is a reading from 1 Kings. Then King Solomon summoned into his presence at Jerusalem the elders of Israel, all the heads of the tribes and the chiefs of the Israelite families, to bring up the ark of the Lord's covenant from Zion, the city of David. All the Israelites came together to King Solomon at the time of the festival in the month of Epiphany, the 7th month. The priest then brought the ark of the covenant to its place in the inner sanctuary of the temple, the most holy place, and put it between the wings of the cherubim. The cherubim spread their wings over the place of the ark and overshadowed the ark and its carrying poles. These poles were so long that their ends could be seen from the holy place in front of the inner sanctuary, but not from the outside of the holy place, and they are still there today. There was nothing in the ark except 2 stone tablets that Moses had placed in it at Horeb, where the Lord made a covenant with the Israelites after they came out of Egypt. When the priests withdrew from the holy place, the cloud filled the temple of the Lord, and the priests could not perform their service because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the temple. Then Solomon said, "The Lord has said that he would dwell in a dark cloud. I have indeed built a magnificent temple for you, a place for you to dwell forever." While the whole assembly of Israel was standing there, the king turned around and blessed them. Then he said, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, who with his own hand has fulfilled what he promised with his own mouth to my father David. For he said, 'Since the day I brought my people Israel out of Egypt, I have not chosen a city in any tribe of Israel to have a temple built so that my name might be there, but I have chosen David to rule my people Israel. My father David had it in his heart to build a temple for you in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. But the Lord said to my father David, you will not have it in your heart to build a temple in my name. Nevertheless, you are not the one to build the temple, but your son, your own flesh and blood. He is the one who will build the temple in my name. The Lord has kept his promise he made. I have succeeded David my father, and now I sit on the throne of Israel, just as the Lord promised. And I have built the temple for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. I have provided a place for the ark, in which the covenant of the Lord that has been made with our ancestors when he brought them out of Egypt. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Okay. What's that all about? Can anybody tell me? What was that all about? What was happening there? They were dedicating the temple. Actually, yeah, it was a grand feast. That's why we sang the first song, okay? Because they were shouting and dancing. They were having a wonderful time. I mean, this was the culmination of centuries of, years and years of traveling and journeying. When they first, we have the Ark of the Covenant, right? Let's figure out what that's all about. What was in the Ark of the Covenant? The tablets from Moses, which contained the 10 Commandments. What was so important about the 10 Commandments? What was the big deal? What was going on? What was happening? Why did they need the 10 Commandments? It was directions from God. This is the way you were to behave to be my people. You kind of all agree on that? Okay, so that's what's it. So wherever they went, they brought the Ark of the Covenant. And they had a tent that they put it in, and in the tent it was divided into sections. And then there was one section there that was reserved for the high priest. Okay, priests could go in there and come and go, but one section was reserved for the high priest, and it was only one day of the year that he could go in there. What day was that? Anybody know? What was the day? What was the one day, the holiest day of Israel? Yom Kippur. Okay, on that day, the priest could enter into the inner sanctuary where the Ark of the Covenant was. Every other day, he could not do so. So this traveled and traveled, and now here we are. The Ark of the Covenant has moved into a new temple. The temple is dedicated. A cloud of glory arrives. The people have a mystical experience. And Solomon explicitly takes on the mantle of his father, David. So that's what's happening today. All these events are taking place. How many of you ever gone to the Holy Land Experience in Orlando? How many of you ever gone to the Holy Land Experience in Orlando? What do you think of it? It's a great experience. Now, I think we need to rent a bus. And I'm going to put you all in the bus, and we're all going to go there. How many would like to do that? Anybody like to do that? I think we're going to plan on that, okay? We're going to work on that. The Holy Land Experience is a wonderful experience. It takes the Bible and just brings it forth in life. Now, there's a couple of things that are there that I would really like you to see, and I'm going to talk about this morning. The first one is it's a replica of the Temple of Solomon. A replica of this temple is there, okay? And the temple was a very complicated thing. It had outer courts and it had inner courts, and it had courts for the Gentiles, courts for the unbelievers, courts for the women, and then they had the place where the priests sacrificed. They did the sacrifices, and then they had the inner temple where the priests alone were there, and it was a magnificent, magnificent place. Meeting God in the temple. In the temple, there are many areas for the people. The holy place for the people daily. That was a key thing. Now, that went on for how many years? Years and years, right? Now, we know that the temple was destroyed and rebuilt. But now Jesus came along. Let's go forward a little bit. And Jesus was a good what? Jew. He was a good Jew. Okay? He was a man from Israel. So he went to the temple, right? And remember a couple of the stories here? He went to the temple and stayed, 4 or 5 days? Drove his parents nuts? Where is he? Jesus disappeared. They go back to the temple. There he is, sitting talking to the elders. Okay? So Jesus felt very at home in this temple. He felt very at home in this temple. But things change, right? What happens ultimately when Jesus gets to the temple there one day? What happened?
Money changer.
The money changes, okay? The outer courts of the temple became a thriving business, okay? God was kind of forgotten, but the money was really important. So they had money changers, and they had doves, and they sold just all kinds of things. And it's one of the few places in the Bible where Jesus what? Gets really upset, okay? And what does he do? He turns over the tables, and he says, what does he say? My house shall not be a den of thieves, okay? So Jesus kind of laid the groundwork for this, okay? Now we're going to fast forward a little further, because I want to try to tie this whole thing together for you. How do we meet God today? That's how you met God in those days, okay? Now, the interesting thing about the temple was that Jesus was tried and he was crucified, correct? Okay. What happened when Jesus was crucified? What dramatic change took place in that temple? Okay. Let me describe this veil. I think this is really fascinating. I have a little description of the veil here. Make a curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, finely twisted linen, with cherubim woven into it by a skilled worker. Hang it with gold hooks on 4 posts of acacia wood, overlaid with gold and standing on 4 silver bases. Hang the curtain from the clasps and place the Ark of the Covenant law behind the curtain. The curtain will separate the holy place from the most holy place. Put the atonement cover of the Ark of the Covenant of the law of Moses in the holy place. Okay, so that's where the curtain was, okay? The curtain separated where the ordinary priest would be to where the Ark of the Covenant would be, where the high priest would go there once a day, once a year, right? Okay, now, when Jesus was crucified on the cross, what happened? It was torn in half, okay? What was the significance of that? What was the significance? It gave us access to God directly. We did not have to go through the priests. We did not have to go through anything. We could talk to God directly. And I think that that's really a key thing. Now, I think what it says is that God, so we have the temple in Israel. Now, what temple does God honor today? What temple does God honor today? Us. You're right. Hey! All right. You are the temple. You are the temple. You say, that can't be right, Steve. Are you kidding me? No, you are the temple. God made you in his image. You are a temple. You are an image of God, okay? And God resides in each and every one of us. Whether you want to believe it or not, God is there. Jesus tore the curtain, as we just said, to separate us from to give us access to God. Each one of us has access to God. And how do we do that? How do we? For prayer. That's right. Okay. How many of you believes that God speaks to you today? How many think you get a busy signal every once in a while? Because I figured it out. It took me a while, but God has 3 answers for us: yes, no, or not today. Okay? And I think that's really what's happening. Okay? Meeting with God now with clean hearts. Because who was our great high priest? Who took the place of the great high priest there? Jesus took the great high priest, okay? So he is our great high priest. And we have access to him 24/7. 24/7, 365, right? How? Prayer, through prayer, okay? Anything you need or want to ask, you can ask to Jesus through your prayers. Jesus, just as Jesus cleansed the temple, then Jesus cleanses us of our hearts and lives today. Jesus wants us to be in a loving relationship with him. He wants us to be one with him. He wants us to have that relationship of he's our Father. Dad, he's a real good Father, okay? Meeting with God through Jesus Christ, any time, any place, and even right here, right now. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a great thing? Now, you sit up and dance. Now, I got to tell you a little, that's the end of my sermon, okay? That's kind of the end of it. Anybody have any questions they want to ask? Now, I saw this in action yesterday because we had the 4th bishop of the Diocese of Southeast Florida was enthroned or installed or whatever you want to call it at the cathedral yesterday. And and this is the modern day experience that we have with our relationship with God. There were about 200 priests there, okay? And it was interesting because this new bishop is going to be a little bit different than any other bishop we've ever had. And it was funny because he wanted us all to look alike. So he went out to the Roman Catholic Church. He said, "Can I borrow 200 chasubles and stoles, all the same color and style?" And they had them. So he had 200 chasubles and stoles sitting there for the priests that arrived, and even the bishops put them on. So it all looked the same. And we all processed into the church, and we sat up in the sanctuary. Okay, picture that, okay? Isn't that amazing? Okay? 200 of us. And you had the Archbishop of Canterbury there. You had all these different people. We had somebody from the Muslim faith. We had somebody from the Jewish faith. We had all the Orthodox faith there. It was amazing the number of people that showed up there. And they were all there to see the bishop enthroned. And I think his name is Peter Eaton. And Peter is going to be wonderful. One of the things that Peter did was, when I go up here and I consecrate this, right, I do the manual actions, right? I do what God has asked us to do through the service. I bless the wine and water, and it becomes the body and blood of Christ. Okay? He asked the 200 clergy there, bishops and priests, to do the thing with him. So can you imagine 200 priests going like this over the vessels? It was amazing. I've never seen that done before in my life. And so it shows and I think it shows the power of the church in action. The service was 3.5 hours long. Not for the faint-hearted. Okay? But I can tell you that you could feel the presence of God in that place. And I think that's a powerful witness to what our new bishop's going to be like. I think that's really an exciting thing for us to know that this bishop really cares about us. He was personal friends with the Archbishop of Canterbury when they were 17 years old. Okay, and he's well traveled, and I think you're going to see some marvelous changes. So, God changes us as we go along. I think that's the key thing, that, he's not done with you and me. We're all under construction. I don't care whether you're 17 or 70. God's not done with you until you take your last breath. Okay? So I think that that's the key thing that, we look at the temple that they had in those days. The temple was wonderful, but God gave us something better. Who did he give us? Jesus Christ. He is in our lives now. And what did Jesus give us when he left? He gave us the gift of the Holy Spirit. Okay? That's what's residing with us today. It's the power of the Spirit that changes our lives. It's the power of the Spirit that allows us to change other people's lives that we come in contact with. You are the ministers of this church. Okay? I'm the priest. Okay? I'm the head celebrant up here. But I don't count as much as you do. You people count day in and day out wherever you are. And that's really what God's talking about. He's talking about you being a change agent for the world, to bring the world to Christ. Okay? And I think all of God's people said, Amen. Thank you all.